Our islands boast some incredible wild places and are home to extraordinary wild creatures. But these natural wonders are under threat like never before. Together with our partners and supporters, the RSPB is fighting to protect and restore some of our last remaining wild landscapes and the threatened species that rely on them. This is the story of our fragile places. Our seasoned coastlines are teeming with life. And the RSPB is lucky enough to look after some spectacular coastal sites. From the dramatic cliffs of South Stack on Anglesey and Bempton Cliffs in Yorkshire, to the sweeping beaches and marshes of Merse Head on Scotland's Solway coast. At Coquet Island off the coast of Northumberland, we've been working to protect seabirds, including puffins and the largest colony of endangered roseate terns in the UK. Tragically, in 2022, Coquet was badly affected by avian flu. This disease has killed tens of thousands of birds across the UK, so we're working hard to better understand it and help limit its spread. Despite the huge numbers of birds killed by avian flu, the growing climate emergency could prove an even bigger threat to coastal and marine wildlife. As our oceans get warmer, fish may move to cooler waters further from shore. So seabirds, like these guillemots on Rathlin Island off the coast of County Antrim, could find it harder and harder to catch enough food for themselves and their chicks. But we are fighting back. To respond to the climate emergency, we must continue to protect and restore coastal habitats. One crucial habitat that can lock up carbon and also reduce coastal flooding is salt marsh. In the UK, this habitat is disappearing rapidly, so we are working hard to bring it back. At Hesketh Outmarsh on the Ribble Estuary, we've allowed the sea to flood back in, creating new areas of salt marsh that teem with wildlife and act like a giant sponge, absorbing excess water and protecting the land beyond. Head inland, and the grasslands and open spaces of our reserves are just as spectacular. In the north of England, there are vast heather-clad moorlands at Geltsdale and beautiful wildflower meadows at Haweswater, as well as the carbon-storing powerhouses of our peatlands, like these at Lake Vyrnwy in Wales and Forcenard Flows in Scotland. Just like our oceans and coasts, these habitats and the wildlife they support are also under threat. The worsening climate emergency is making damaging wildfires more likely. And changes to farming have sent pollinating insects spiralling into decline, with 40% now at risk of extinction. Insects pollinate 3/4 of the world's food crops, making their decline bad news, not just for the plants and animals that rely on them, but our food security too. Elsewhere, vast areas of peatland have been drained and replaced with commercial timber plantations, destroying this precious carbon-storing habitat. We've been taking action to restore our peatlands, like this one at RSPB Dovestone in the Peak District. And we are supporting grassland wildlife, like here on the Antrim Plateau in Northern Ireland, where a curlew nest has been fenced off to protect the vulnerable eggs and chicks. Where open spaces give way to the embrace of trees, we care for some incredibly special and varied woodlands. Along the western coasts of Wales and Scotland lie Celtic rainforests, like those at Glen Crippersdale, which are even rarer than their tropical counterparts. In the lowlands of England, gnarled ancient oaks dominate the canopy at Sherwood Forest. And at Abernethy, Caledonian pine forests perch on the mighty slopes of the Cairngorms. Just 1% of this ancient Scottish woodland remains, split into isolated fragments. That's why we are working with our partners on a visionary project to restore and reconnect the habitats of this incredible wild place over the next 200 years. Across the UK, native woodlands have been lost on a vast scale. In some places, overgrazing by livestock and deer has stopped forests recovering. Here at Haweswater in the Lake District, we're planting native trees and protecting them from nibbling mouths to help bring more life back to these slopes. Up here in our hills and mountains, we also find the beginnings of our rivers. The RSPB helps to look after some incredible freshwater habitats, from these wild waterways in our upland reserves to wetlands like West Sedgemoor on the Somerset Levels, Inch Marshes in the Highlands, and lakes like Portmore Loch in County Antrim. But our freshwater habitats are under pressure, with almost 2/3 of the UK's rivers, lakes and ponds in poor health. As well as being polluted and overused, many of our freshwater habitats have been lost completely, including 50% of our ponds. So we're working to create and protect new habitats. This is Ouse Fen in Cambridgeshire. We've been working in partnership here to transform this site from a working quarry into a vast wetland that will contain the largest reed bed in the UK. Our wildlife and wild places have never faced so many threats. But together, we can all take action for nature and play our part in helping to protect and restore our fragile places.